Hey, Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome to Civilization 7 analysis and review of the new content in the Crossroads of the World DLC. This is the second patch, the second half of the DLC. So now we're going to be checking out Simon Bolivar. And he is a militaristic and expansionist leader. Now, militaristic means that he's going to be able to do a militaristic endeavor. So he's going to be able to get combat strength and money by engaging with endeavors with other people. So diplomacy will be important for this guy for going to war. And he's also expansionist, meaning that he's able to get extra growth in his towns through diplomacy. So you probably want to have at least one ally when you're playing as Simon Bolivar. And actually, here's a really interesting thing. The memento down here shows you exactly why. Yeah, I think Simon Bolivar really shines when you find one person on the map who you make friends with, and you ride or die that person, use them for the militaristic and expansionist diplomacy bonuses, right? So you get extra food in your towns, you get extra combat strength, and then you use the extra free war support that you have to go to war. In that regards, I do feel like Simon Bolivar is quite an interesting leader, right? Because you get that extra war support on your wars, meaning this is essentially a diplomatic influence bonus, but it's also a combat bonus, in the sense that you get +1 combat strength, you get +1, you get sort of, the enemy has to support wars against you one more time to be on equal footing. And if you're able to get a military attribute point right here, that gets you +1, so then you're up to +2 free support. Then if you can get the Wonder, the Gate of All Nations, is that another +2? I can't remember. So Simon Bolivar could be rocking like +4 free war support on his wars pretty early on into the game, which has a very, very high potential. And then you add to the fact that when you conquer a settlement for the first time, you can purchase one constructible for free. I think this is very valid all throughout the game. Like in the Antiquity Age, you can purchase the altar, which is typically going to be your most expensive building in the Antiquity Age, but also it provides happiness, meaning that you're going to take less penalties for happiness in that building, and you'll also get the benefit of your pantheon. In the Exploration Age, you can use this to get a temple, which is similar, right? It gives you the benefits of your religion, it allows you to get bonuses for your happiness, all that sort of stuff. I think it probably might be better to use it on like a stonecutter or something like that in that age. And then where it comes back into shining really strongly is in the modern age. You'll be able to purchase like something like a train station, a rail yard or whatever they're called, for free, which is like a several thousand gold injection. It's like a 2,000 gold injection into your economy every time you conquer a city, and it provides you with the ability to teleport your units across the map to reinforce Simon Bolivar, which is very, very powerful. So yeah, I definitely feel like he is a leader that wants to bring the inscribed sling bullet to get that early militaristic point. The other mementos, I'm not entirely sure. Let's do a little bit of a review of his progression mechanics. So if we come down to, okay, either he's not in this list or I am blind. A little of column A, a little of column B. He should be right after Patch Cutie. I must assume this is some kind of bug. I just had a bug report to the dev team there. But basically, I think the way you want to play Simon Bolivar is you want to get one really good friend, bring at least a sling bullet, and then it's wide open there depending on how you want to play. I definitely think you should absolutely bring the military attribute point. I just wish I could see his progression. I'm annoyed. Anyway, let's go check out the new civs as well. So we've got, was it Bulgaria was the newest one? Yeah, so we've got Bulgaria here. Now, Bulgaria received food to all towns when pillaging improvements equal to 50% of the yield or HP gained. So if you pillage an improvement to gain 30 HP, all of your towns gain 15 food. Now, food is one of the weakest yields in the game, generally speaking. But a big advantage of this is that you can work exclusively production tiles in your towns, get a huge amount of gold per turn, and then use that gold per turn to churn into a military, and then your military will actually grow your towns by pillaging, and then you're also getting the yields from the pillaging. which feels very, 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 very strong. Now, there is a downside here, is that they are quite weak against districts with medieval walls. So they're bad against walls. It's kind of an interesting idea. You've got the Bolivar, which is a unique cavalry unit that ignores rough terrain for movement and opposing units combat. So enemies don't benefit from rough terrain when fighting the Bolivar. And you get +3 combat strength when this unit is fighting on rough. That is really strong. It also ignores zone of control. So a very strong cavalry unit here. And you've got the Tarkhan. Faster units in its command radius can pillage for no movement cost. That feels really strong, especially in combination with this and combination with the benefits that you get from pillaging already. Being able to basically rock through enemy territory with a bunch of high-speed cavalry units, especially if you promote with the mobility promotions here. And then also the Hidden Fortress gives you +4 production. The big advantage here of the Hidden Fortress unique infrastructure is the +4 production. It has to be placed on rough, not adjacent to another Hidden Fortress. Units on this tile gain stealth. Oh, so you cannot see them. That is quite powerful. Like, trying to break a Bulgarian Bolivar placed on a Hidden Fortress would be practically impossible, especially if there's a Tarkhan with any of the defensive promotions. Really, really powerful here. Very curious to see about this, and I wonder if purchasing a building applies to the Hidden Fortress, because if you could immediately plop down a Hidden Fortress in a town, it's +4 gold per turn in that town for free. That's quite a powerful ability. But let's go ahead and check out Bulgaria's sort of unique civics. We want to have a look at their unique civic progression to also get an idea of how powerful they are. I don't know if I would say that Simon Bolivar is particularly powerful, but I think he enables sort of a pattern of gameplay that isn't usual, which is quite powerful. If you imagine him compared to a generic leader with no abilities, he does enable you to play in a fairly aggressive manner. Definitely the kind of guy who is encouraged to capture his cities rather than settling them. But that, you know, that implies that the cities that he's going to try and capture are valuable, which isn't always the case when you're dealing with the AI. Although the AI has had improved settling routines. So we've got Preslav, which is our capital. I'm just going to go ahead and grab some wildcard abilities. All right, so let's do a little bit of a review of Bulgaria's unique civics. We've got the 7 tribes, which gives us access to the Hidden Fortress, and then you've got False Retreat. This gives you production in all cities. Now, this is a tradition, so you will keep this forever. When pillaging buildings equal to 50% of the yield or HP gained. Holy crap! So if I pillage a building and I get 40 gold, that means I get 20 production in every city. This is actually insane. And you're going to want to... Okay, so you're basically going to want to pillage every single tile that you can find when you're playing as Bulgaria. And the mastery of this is combat units receive +5 combat strength when you have at least 5 relics on display. So you're definitely going to want to go for an early piety here and try to get a few relics going. And then you've got the, there you go, the Rila Monastery. So you've got the Tarnovo schools here. This gives you the Rila Monastery. It has room for 3 relics, and you receive a relic every time you build a wonder, including this one. So this enables this, right? You get this wonder, and then you can have another way that you can get relics. That's really, really strong. And then you have this age unique bonus, which goes away after this age. You get +2 happiness in hidden fortresses and settlements with a temple. That's really quite good, sort of reinforcing going for the hidden fortresses. Happiness, again, looks to counter your expansionism. And then you've got Iconolatry. Great works for 5 +1 happiness and +1 gold. That feels pretty weak. However, this feels pretty weak as a card to plug in. If it was just a passive bonus for this age, it would be fine. But I do think that needs to be buffed. I think this needs to be buffed. I think it should definitely be like +2 happiness and +2 gold at a minimum. +1/+1 feels really weak, considering that relics do not scale particularly well. But getting a free relic is nice because that gets you, if you get this and this, you have 2 relics towards activating this ability. And then you've got the Tsar Stvi. Hidden fortresses receive +2 culture for each adjacent mountain tile, and you get 2 migrants in the capital. That's really nice. This is a nice population boost for your capital. And then you've got the stratagems, which gets you 50% yields and HP from pillaging and a settlement limit. Now, the settlement limit isn't particularly good, in my opinion. I've started to feel that settlement limit is a lot weaker than I thought. And I'm sort of going away from thinking settlement limit is good at all. But the extra yields from and HP from pillaging works really well with this culture. I would even go as far as to say is that you would want to make sure that you set yourself up early in the previous age to have a lot of culture so that you can quickly grab these. You're going to want to lean into this and you're going to want to build this wonder for sure. And then if you could also build the House of Wisdom, right? Like, so I'm thinking of like a build as Bulgaria. You want to rush the Tarnovo schools, get the Rila Monastery, and then you're going to want to rush to the House of Wisdom, because you're basically like, even actually rushing piety into inspiration, into society, into the House of Wisdom. I definitely think the House of Wisdom is a rushable civic for Bulgaria, because if you get the House of Wisdom and the Society Mastery technology, you start with 4 relics, which is pretty much everything you need to activate the 7 Tribes Mastery. And then all you need to do is grab your Tarnovo schools. Once you have that, that's your 5 relics activated, and then you can quickly grab this. So I think there's a really interesting build as Bulgaria, where you go Piety, Inspiration, Society Mastery, and then 7 Tribes Tarnovo schools. Now the question is, where is that wonder on the tree normally? Because its position is going to dictate how likely it is someone is going to steal it from you. So it's over here on Heraldry. I don't know if the AI necessarily rushes this technology, but the Rila Monastery can be stolen from you quite easily. I think one thing that I don't like about the Rila Monastery is that it isn't particularly good ageless. It's very much so focused on providing benefits in this age, where something like the Serpent Mound is quite good ageless, right? Science and production and all unique improvements. You know, the Anchor Watt provides science in all rural tiles that have happiness. I definitely think that the Rila Monastery is very much so a wonder that is focused on buffing Bulgaria in this age. But I quite like it. I think it's relatively strong. I think it's quite powerful. And I think Bulgaria has a really interesting build available to it, where it goes for this. Now, in terms of leader attributes, I think you're definitely going to want to try to get at least 2 cultural attributes to try and get that 10% production towards wonders. And then if you can get the 10% culture in cities with wonders, that would be really nice. I think these 3 would be pretty important to get when you're lining up to go for Bulgaria. You're definitely going to want to gain the free war support and ignoring the happiness penalty from unrest in captured cities as Simon Bolivar. And then if you can get that legend unlock, that really helps overcome the Bulgarian penalties. And then settlement limit, or flipping back for military production. I definitely think these 2 are really, really quite powerful. These 3 are not so powerful for this build. It's quite good this is really good in the Antiquity Age if you want to kill some independents. Yeah, and I think, trying to think about what abilities are really important for Simon Bolivar. I definitely feel like the tier 1 economic is going to be really good, because you're going to be expanding to a lot of cities, and the tier 1 science as well, because you have a lot of places you want to benefit from that. So overall, I gotta say, Bulgaria has a very interesting playstyle, and I really like the cohesive and interesting way that they play. Heavily benefiting from pillaging, heavily benefiting from being at war. It's a very, very interesting civilization, not necessarily wanting to actually take cities, but definitely wanting to be at war to boost their economy. It's a very interesting idea, and I'm very excited to try out Bulgaria. We might even start in the exploration age, who knows. Now we want to go check out Nepal and their special abilities and kind of give them a little bit of a review. So here's Nepal. This is a diplomatic and cultural civ. They have Roof of the World. All warehouse buildings apply to mountain terrain yields, but they cost +1 gold and happiness maintenance. That is not so bad a deficit, especially because making mountains really strong is actually quite good. They have a 30% production bonus towards their emblematic wonder. They have the Gurkha, should be a very strong infantry unit. And then the Sherpa, which is a unique scout, which ignores mountains and rough terrain for sight and ignores mountains for movement. So this can move over mountains, very cool. You've got the Highland Power Station, which gives you 3 production and 3 culture. It's a unique improvement, does not remove warehouse bonuses on a tile, must be placed on mountain terrain, and is constructed by the Sherpa. Oh wow, that is really interesting. So let's jump in here and sort of play around with the Nepalese and see what's going on with them. Okay, so we've got Kathmandu. Let's grab some cities and some towns and some wildcard attributes. We'll go near those mountains right there, just kind of throwing some cities down. Okay, so let's look at some of these Nepalese civics. So food and science buildings receive adjacency from mountains. That is quite interesting because it changes up where you want to place them. Now, the only unfortunate thing is that this is an age-specific bonus. So if there was ever a future age, this would go away. You've also got Sherpas can activate an unowned mountain tile. Oh, wow. Within one of your settlements, palace, A path of tiles is claimed back to the settlement, and the mountain tile is improved immediately with a highland power station. That is really interesting. So you can actually expand outside of your empire. Oh wow. All districts adjacent to mountains receive defensive fortifications. It's a one-time effect. So if you research this, any districts, which are places with at least one building in them, will get defensive fortifications. That's really quite powerful for being defensive here. Then the mastery of this will give you ton to kill. Combat strength for all units adjacent to mountain terrain. This is doubled if it's also in your territory, so +6 combat strength on the defense is incredibly powerful. You're going to be difficult to invade. And units complete fortifications in one turn if they're adjacent to a mountain. This is age specific, but that still feels quite powerful. You're going to be very hard to invade if you have a lot of mountainous terrain. Singa Durbar unlocks the Gift Gurkha action, which grants a Gurkha to another civilization. Nepal receives +10 relationship with them, and 5 culture for the current relationship with them. Can only be done with friendly or helpful civilization. So I imagine this is a diplomatic action, which basically gives someone else a military unit. It's kind of an interesting idea. Gets you a little bit of culture. Culture doesn't feel that strong, honestly. But this is the age of ideology, so giving people military units and getting stuff is good. +3 influence on culture buildings is insane. That's crazy. 50% in influence towards initiating endeavors if you have the least amount of settlements, +20% otherwise. So if you're a small country, you get a nice boost. Museums have an additional 2 great work slots, so definitely kind of pushing towards like playing a little bit taller on mountains. Himal, mountain tiles receive +4 culture in your capital and +2 culture in other settlements. Really quite interesting. A set of bonuses for Nepal. Now, I don't necessarily feel they have a particularly cohesive game plan. They like to play around mountains and get... I think it's really going to play around getting the Sherpa and building these unique buildings here. So I kind of want to test out the Sherpa. Ugh, every single Civilization 7 patch resets your hotkeys. And it drives me crazy because I like to use Z as the next action button. Okay, so let's put a Sherpa up here. How do I build the thing on mountains? So I don't really understand how to build it. Okay, something's going on here. If I build a brickyard there, okay, I don't really understand. All right, if I go step on this, how do I claim it though? Does it have to be unowned mountain tiles? I'm gonna have to spend some time figuring this out. So far, I don't like this neutral relationship indicator. Gotta say, this is a newly added thing. I really don't like it. I think it was pretty obvious that when there was nothing underneath the leader's banner, they were neutral. I think this is a net negative for the game. I do not like this. You only need indicators for positive or negative relationships, in my opinion. This is just bad, and I hate it. Otherwise, though, I mean, Nepal is kind of interesting, but I don't think they're good. And what I mean by that is, I'm not seeing stuff here that makes me think of them as like, oh yeah, dude, like they have the sauce. You know what I mean? I guess they're unique. They're unique. I mean, they're pretty interesting in that they can play pretty diplomatic, but I don't see anything here like this. They have nothing that's pointing them in a direction, you know what I mean? They feel very thematic but boring. And this is a very good example of the kind of civilizations that we got towards the start of Civilization 6, where a lot of civs had sort of like kind of interesting and thematic bonuses that ultimately were just kind of pointless when you actually played the game. And I'm worried that we're starting to see civs like that, particularly DLC civs. Like, I would look at this, right? And if I bought the Crossroads of the World collection, now I received it for free because, you know, I'm a content creator. Like, I would look at this and I would be like, man, I don't feel like I got my money's worth with this civ. It feels like it's interestingly designed, but not interesting to play. Because they have a lot of bonuses that just have no impact on the outcome of the game, in my opinion. A very low impact civ, as far as I can tell right now. Like this is their coolest bonus right here. The warehouse buildings apply to mountain tiles, but then it has a penalty. Why does it have a penalty? Like, I don't think it should have a penalty. It's not good enough to deserve a penalty. That's my hot take. I don't think it deserves to have a penalty. And mountain tiles aren't even that common anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's cool that when the Sherpas are on mountains, they create this kind of like unique mountain graphic. Like, that's awesome. But I think that this still needs work. And I don't like that you can only do it on mountains outside your own thing. This is really cool. The graphics here, awesome. I definitely feel like Nepal needs work. Like, I don't want to use the word garbage, but they feel like my first impression here is that they're kind of garbage. Food and science buildings receive adjacency from mountains. Like, this isn't even ageless. It's only for this age. Districts adjacent to mountains get defended. Like, this is kind of cool, but it only happens once. I would love a second benefit here that gave you 100% like production or cheaper purchasing for districts for defensive fortifications adjacent to mountains. So that if you missed out on this, like, I feel like that should be the second half of this. That would start to make it feel a little bit better, because now you're in this kind of weird position where you want to wait until the last second to research this, but you need this to get this. Right? Where, you know, so I don't know. This is cool. Again, I don't think it really helps your Civ, though. It's kind of thematic and cool, but it doesn't do anything, really. This is thematic and cool, but I don't think it actually does anything. Yeah, you have really good relationships. That's cool. But, like, from a gameplay point of view, relationships just don't matter in Civilization 7, particularly in the modern era, where the only thing that matters for your relationship with other players is your ideology, as the way the game is currently designed. Their coolest bonus is the influence on culture buildings. And then their second coolest bonus has a penalty attached to it. Is if you are successful, you get punished. Yeah, I gotta say, this civilization is kind of shit. And I'm really disappointed. Jesus. Wow. I mean, considering how well designed and interesting Bulgaria looks, this kind of sucks. I hate to say it. Also, I don't know why this mountain is being graphically weird. Is it because I stepped on one of them? It's kind of funky. It's like a low poly mountain. Yeah, I think that's my review of Nepal. Thematically cool, but from a gameplay point of view, just irrelevant from the get-go. Gotta say, I like Simon Bolivar and I like Bulgaria, but Nepal, thumbs down. They need to rework Nepal. They need serious work. That's my first impression. I will spend some time playing them. And I want to thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Look, if I was Nepalese, right, I would look at these bonuses, and I'd be like, that is so cool. They represented our culture in the video game. But if I was like a Nepalese pro gamer, I'd be like, dude, my culture sucks in this game. So thumbs up for representation, thumbs down for gameplay design. All right, I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.